Okay, so this is a 84 Jeep CJ7. I converted it to be full electric, and I'm going to walk through a little bit about the Jeep. So it's got 31 1050 tires. It's got a roll bar from a Jeep Wrangler, and it's got a soft top that I use, seat in the back, and for the most part it looks like a stock CJ7 when you look around it from the outside. There's not a whole lot of hints that it is an electric vehicle, except of course if you look at the back, I've got some stickers there and my license plate. You can see the battery box kind of hanging down. We'll get some more details of that soon. Most of it's stock. I do have things like a shackle lift, a minor shackle lift there. Put some speakers in the back and tried to keep the dash pretty simple. I did get rid of the shaft style radio to put a regular radio in. You can see some lights there, those two red lights. Those are actually part of the electric car system, and I'll explain some more of that later. Here you can see the front, and I got a upgraded bumper with the shackles that I can take out and use, hook up a tow bar to. Once again, the extended shackles on the front, and then I've got the grill filled in with a piece of aluminum because I don't need a radiator, and so I filled it in with a silver aluminum just to kind of keep a balloon effect from happening. Also, I added a wind guard or a deflector on the bottom here to keep to try to help with aerodynamics. The Jeep doesn't have the best aerodynamics, but I did find that this helped some, so I decided to keep it. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about what's under the hood and start talking about the electric car conversion itself. One thing on the top there, I put an insulator there, so when I'm charging out in the sun, it kind of acts as a radiant barrier and helps insulate from the sun's heat. I do need to add fans at some point, but I haven't done that yet. So let's kind of walk through. So here's the battery pack on the front, and have a number of batteries up here. I have 24 batteries. Everything's in series. Each battery has a BMS unit that you can see there. It's all a mini BMS system. You can see the purple wires. Those make up the series that lets, if anything breaks that circuit, I get an alarm. We've got one fuse on the front here. And I've also got the monitoring circuit. You can see that sensor around that metal bar there, that copper bar. That's my Coulomb counter, so I can watch how much charge I've used. And it uses an Ethernet connection to connect to something in the dash that we'll look at later. There's the charger. It's only a 2 kilowatt charger. It's an Elcon style charger. Kind of wimpy, and I wish of course I would have gone with a bigger charger. The Soliton 1 controller, been pretty happy with it. I had to send it back once for repairs, but otherwise it's been pretty good. I do have the liquid cooling system hooked up. I mount the radiator down underneath the battery box there. Went with a small 12 volt battery since I didn't really need a full starting battery. Beltronics DC to DC converter. That's worked pretty well. And then this guy actually, when I plug in my Jeep to charge, I go ahead and top off the 12 volt battery. And that little guy there has actually worked really well. Been very happy with him. He runs on 120 volt or 220 volt, 240 volt, and so that's really nice. And so he just plugs in right up here. So I got my charger plugged in, I've got him plugged in. If I want to charge on a 220 volt system, I plug this in, and then I can use this. And I forget where I got that from, somewhere in Arizona. I have to remember that one. Then if I want to charge on 120, I just unplug it right here and just plug that into an extension cord. The BMS circuit's in here. This guy's hooked up, and I can pull this off and see if everything is okay. This is hooked up to the gas pedal here, so I pull that back, and that's my throttle. This is a circuit breaker here, and what I can do is from inside the vehicle I can pull it back, and that will actually break my circuit for me. It's a little underbuilt for my application. I can set this circuit breaker off driving down the highway, so I have to be careful with my speeds on the highway. Once I get over 60 miles per hour, I can, if I'm going up hills and things, I can set that off. From a Jeep perspective, I went with manual brakes. There's no booster there. Works pretty well. If I ever add a AC system with regenerative brakes, I think it would work really well with the manual system. Also, I went with manual steering, so there's no power assist on the steering there. So here's another look at the dash. Talk a little bit now about the electric car side of things. I blacked out the gas and temperature gauges since I didn't need them anymore. And then over here is a tachometer that is hooked up to the Warp 9 motor that I have. And then this is what this is a display that I see that is driven by the sensor we saw earlier. The Ethernet connection comes in here, and I can look at a variety of things with this. You can see I can see the has 2-line display. Right now my pack has 113 amp hours. I'm drawing 0 amps, but I can look at different things through. It gives me some options of things I can look at there. I think it's a little off right now. I think it tells me I'm not filling up all the way, but I think I really am. So we'll have to debug that at some point. And then there's my 2 lights. The light on the left is basically kind of like a check engine light from the motor. If there's something wrong, the motor wants to tell me. It uses the left light, and the right light will tell me when my BMS is triggering. And that doesn't mean that I have to stop and pull over. That's just letting me know that hey, I might want to let off the throttle a little bit. And I do get that driving on the highway or going up steep hills. Okay, here's a quick look at the battery pack in the back. 26 batteries. These are CALB 130 amp hour batteries. You can see the main cable coming in, connecting in one side, and series connections over, a fuse there, and going back the other way. And I was able to kind of tuck that down just under the floorboard. In retrospect, I wish I would have elevated the whole thing a few more inches to give me better ground clearance in the back, and then also developed a better way to keep water from getting in there. Although I don't think water is a huge problem. Okay, next we'll take a look underneath. You can see that cable. I put it inside a big heavy plastic cable coming from the back, or a rubber hose there. Real thick stuff that the cable runs inside to give it a little bit of extra protection. So underneath, it's pretty much stock. It's an AMC 20 rear end. It's got a 4:10 gear ratio. And I went with, ended up going with Skyjacker hydro shocks, and I've been pretty happy with those over the stock shocks I tried before. You can see you can't really see with the lighting, but the battery box hangs down a little bit. I'll try a different view for that. And then up there, you can see that cable making its way back in. And it's a little bit harder to see the motor now, but the motor is down here, and I've got like a shield that I've cut up. Took some plastic shields from another vehicle and cut it up to make a splash shield to try to keep mud and dirt from getting to the Warp 9. There's the stock bell housing, a stock 4-speed transmission, and the transfer case sits behind there. Of course, the transfer case is what drives the front drive shaft, to the front axle. And this is all stock Jeep. How the drivetrain is all hooked up, and we just switch over with an adapter that I got from Canada EV. They did a great job of making something line up perfect. Although I did have to do some cutting myself because they didn't realize that they had a 2-wheel drive model, and so I had to cut that because for my drive shaft to fit up to the front there. There's much, you can't see a lot with my shield there. You can see the batteries coming down to the battery cables coming down to the Warp 9 there. You can see some of the, I guess the brush is wearing out. You can see some of the carbon, a little bit of carbon buildup there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just point out a couple more things. Most Jeeps of this era have this, but these are locking hubs. You lock it to put it in 4-wheel drive and put the transfer case in 4-wheel drive, and you're ready to go. And when you unlock it, you're actually disconnecting it from the axle inside, and so you don't have any of that drag. So it's kind of nice for an electric car, electric vehicle. I actually have a Wrangler windshield, and it has the spots for me to mount these in. Normally a Jeep CJ doesn't have these bars here, and this whole roll bar system is actually from a late model Wrangler, or a 95 Wrangler. It actually has the, it's nice because it has the seat belts up high on the shoulder strap for my kids, so we like that. I guess that's about it. Mostly a stock Jeep with 31 1050 tires and stock springs, stock shocks, a little bit of shackle lift just to give it just a little bit of a nice look to it. I also have a clip of the Jeep doing some off-roading, so we'll show that next.
All right, here we go.